just like to call to order the Fire District Board meeting of June 18th. Would you please mute your cell phones? Would you please not text during the meeting? And that's about it. All right. Could we have approval of the agenda, please?
Roll call.
Oh, roll call. I'm sorry.
Rory? Here. Beckman? Me. Stein?
Here.
Verplank?
Here.
Phelps? Here. Meridian? And Miller? Here.
Okay, approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as stands.
I'll support. Is there any discussion? The agenda stands as printed. Approval of the May 21st meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of May 21st, 2018.
Second, please.
I'll second.
All right. I have a motion by Staring, a second by Phelps to approve the minutes of the May 21st meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay, moving on. Public comment. Please hold your comments to 3 minutes only, and it's on agenda items only at this time. No public comment? Okay. Tonight we'll have a public hearing on the Fire District 2018-19 budget. Could I have a motion, please, to go into the public hearing?
I'll move to open the public hearing.
I'll support.
I have a motion to go into public hearing by Rohrig and support by Staring. Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll go into public hearing for the budget. Is there anyone that wants to speak against the budget? Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak for the budget? Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak on the budget, not for or against?
I'll say something because nobody else wants to.
Of course you will.
Chris Manos, 2454 Blue Star. I just want to say I think the fire department and the 3 communities we serve all get a great value for the cost of the overall budget that comparatively to neighboring departments and similar departments of this size, that we do quite a bit with what we're provided, and thank you to the board for what we are given, because we do have some nice equipment and we are trained to use it quite well, so thank you.
I agree. Really, we're only as good as our fire board, and you guys have supported us financially, morally, all the above, and you know, one of the reasons that we are able to achieve what we set out to do is because of the fire board. And you know, I personally am very appreciative. I was just in a meeting today with a neighboring department, actually down south a ways, that was unable to staff their department and missed between 12 and 15 calls. They just didn't respond. As you know from the data, our overlapping call volume is getting increasingly demanding resource and staffing, which equates to money, and this board has allowed us to do that. One example, allowing us to have a first responder vehicle at home has made a huge difference in quality of care and response. And I think it speaks, this board is innovative, and I think this board that certainly demonstrates strong support towards firefighters and command officers in chief. So I thank you.
Anybody else want to speak on the budget? Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll support.
I have a motion by Phelps and support by Staring to close the public hearing for discussion. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? Okay, moving on. We have a request for payment. We have a budget adjustment this evening. Peter?
Yes, this is the final and the last budget adjustment for the 2018 budget, because it's coming to an end. Just trying to find it for you.
Starts back to the packet, isn't it?
Last 2 pages, Peter?
Yeah, but I printed everything back
Oh.
to back, page paper and everything. There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so overall, the revenues really didn't, the city revenues, was kind of, it was decreased a little bit, so was the township. Basically, that was some changes done by the board review after the values from July or December board review, so that's why those were less. Actually, Douglas's was $400 more. And the city of Saugatuck was $1,384 less, and the township was $1,191 less also in incomes. And then fire services, that's an increase in income along with inspection fees increase, cost recovery increase, grants and donations increase. Sales of assets was a $1,000 increase. The board salary was a decrease of expenses along with officer salaries. Operational wages were $15,000 increase along with fire call increase, training increase, and that equates to payroll taxes went up. The worker comp, or the employee insurance benefits, that's a decrease from the original budget along with the decrease in workers' comp insurance. Professional services, that's basically legal fees, an increase. Station tools, an increase of $100. Utilities, the heat, the light, the trash, the water, is an increase of $1,500. Hydrant maintenance and vehicle equipment repair maintenance, a decrease. An increase on boat maintenance, which was the paint job or the major overhaul on the boat, that was an increase. Building security was a decrease along with dues and uniforms decreases. Uniforms, turnout gear, and education, which is slash training, those are increases. And then a decrease in medical supply. The general insurance is basically a decrease due to the rebate that we received from them. Tax chargeback is basically an increase, and that's from the state. People bought their property taxes, and we had to refund from previous years. And then the long-term capital, to get the budget to balance, we decreased the expenses there. So there's the budget adjustment there. I can go in farther details, I guess, once it gets approved, about where we're at overall with the budget for this year, this fiscal year that we only have. Today's what, the 19th?
18.
18th, so we have 12 more days, so. So I don't know, does anybody have any questions on that budget adjustment, or?
Well, let's have a motion. Do we have a motion to approve the budget adjustment?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget adjustments.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Phelps and a second by Miller. Is there discussion?
On the boat maintenance, that's what we've been spending to get it up to speed.
Mhm.
So next year, going to next year, for that line item, we shouldn't see as much, right? Because there's not as much still.
I guess Greg can answer that.
Yeah, okay.
Hopefully.
I agree with you, Chris.
Okay, well, that's my other question.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
It's supposed to be a roll call, James.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Rory?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Flake?
Yes.
Phelps?
Yes.
And,
Yes.
me.
Okay, accounts payable, Peter. Have a motion to approve the accounts payable.
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable,
I'll second.
$63,878.86.
And I have a motion by Phelps and a second by Rory to pay the bills. Is there any discussion? roll call vote?
Self,
Yes.
Rory.
Yes.
Staring.
Yes.
Sirlik.
Yes.
And Miller.
Yes.
Pay the bills in the amount of $63,878.86. Financial report.
Okay, so for the revenues, so far to date, we've collected 99.97% of what revenues that we had budgeted. And then the expenses overall through today, but we don't have we still have 2 more payrolls for the full career people, and then we have all the calls for the month of June you have to pay, and we're at 86% of the expenses. We've spent 86% of the revenue. The bottom line, I guess, a year ago, when we increased from 1.7 mils to 2 mils, we wanted to start stocking away money into that long-term capital item. And that, on page 2, far right-hand column, we kept course, and we have $51,849 that will go into the fund balance for long-term capital items. And I think we'll have a carryover. I don't know where the calls are for the month, but I've been told, Greg and Chris, everything else is really spent except the calls. We have no control over, so hopefully we still come under budget there. So we should have a healthy transfer into our fund balance here for the 2018 budget year. So I don't know if anybody has any particular line item questions or...
Questions? Seems pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just explain the difference between long-term capital and capital fund transfer? Like, are those...
Well, it's really, the capital, we decided a year ago to put this, we wanted something broke out that when we balanced the budget, that we needed to start stocking away money when we need to buy a new tanker or a new ladder truck. And so that $51,000 just basically been sitting there the whole year. We haven't, our whole goal was never to touch it. And so that will roll over into the fund balance for the long-term capital.
So the next year will show up in the long-term capital?
Yeah, I think we even have it in the budget for 2019. I don't know what was the amount that we put in the current. See it? Budget there for...
Yeah, 50 to go in.
Yeah, for another $50,000 we've got as a line item to keep increasing this.
How much is in that now?
200 and some. I think we have. I think it's about 576 altogether, but we have to keep about $300,000 as cash flow because we never levy any of the taxes until the winter bill, or 6 months into the year. So we got 275 plus another 50, so we'll be over 300 grand this year, this current year. So our goal is that when we have to buy probably $500,000 truck here in a few more years, that we don't have to
Borrow money.
well, we'll probably have to borrow something, but we don't have to borrow. We'll have a pretty healthy downstroke for us.
May I?
Yeah.
Aaron, one of the things we discovered when we built the capital improvement plan was, for example, take SCBA's, our air packs. So they have a 10-year life expectancy, and there was no money put away for them. So then I go to the board and say, I need $215,000 for that. We have a capital improvement plan, but we didn't have the cash flow. So one of the things, the goals was to set the $50,000 aside so we can have it for hose, air packs. I mean, it's essentially $20,000 a year just to set aside for air packs. We weren't able to do that on the current millage. So that was what the capital improvement plan identified. And again, $5,000 a year for hose. Grants are getting so competitive and so difficult nowadays. That's how we got the last air packs. So we don't know. We're trying to not blindside the board by coming to you and saying, this is what we need. This is planned, it's projected, and that $50,000 set aside was a goal.
Thank you. All right, everybody satisfied with the financial report? Okay, fire chief comments. Moving on. Pension report?
Thanks, Eric. Eric, as always, thank you for your phenomenal statistical ability to project what we are doing on screen. So you can see May ended up with 85 calls based on 68 last year and 76 the prior year. 16 was a higher year. We had all the call volume on the highway, for construction. So we're up just about 20%. I think the prior month we were about 24, 25%. We were running 24, it's down slightly. So 20% is still significant. You know what we're doing and what the trending is. It's right there.
We were talking about this in January, February. It was the weather, that contributed that increase to. What do you contribute to in May?
May, it really, in May, what was significant in May was we had a storm that came through, and I think in one day we had over 20 calls. So that spikes it up right there.
Mm-hmm.
So inclement weather, power lines down, trees down, it's like a war zone. That's what has the biggest impact.
So it could be just one storm that.
Yes, in that case, that was one big storm that came through.
And then also the population's increasing in May too as well.
Factor. You know, a number of things, we're getting older, we're living longer, we're living at home, which is good, we're living at home with chronic diseases. But the biggest impact was that day we had all the calls. Your in-first reporting, so that the categories are predetermined, pretty self-explanatory, a more precise way of doing it, and it shows EMS is, about 45 calls, or about 53% of your call volume. Shows good intent, false alarms, special incident types, self-explanatory. Motor vehicle incidents, you can see we're at 36 at this time of the year. Pretty hard to determine what the trend will be. We already had 3 extrications. Motor vehicle incidents by month, bar graph that shows activity. By area, break it down. Remember, township north and south of the bridge kind of helps you. Shows what we had on the highway, specifically 11 calls. Outside of the area, your mutual aid areas, you can see that activity as well, about 11%. Grace of Douglas, this is one number we like to see low. And it is.
One for May.
One so far in June. Overlapping calls, was talking to 3 other chiefs about this morning, and this is one area the board, in my opinion, excels at, the staffing and the resourcing. You have a hard time dividing up equipment and personnel and respond to these multiple calls. You can see in June so far there's been 11 calls. So this is a real significant data collection point that fire board councils, managers, supervisors would be well to, ask for something like this. How do you manage that? We don't want to be a department that ever says we're not available. So. And overlapping calls shown by area. It's interesting as you look at that yellow one, the mustard color one outside the area. When you have a call, when you're outside, as you may be aware, we never abandon the area with first responders, medical staff. The duty crew is assigned to stay, manage everything within our fire district. And that's how we cover that. We don't take everybody there, and then if we have a fire that looks like it's going to be over an hour, then we'll move, say, Graskup down to our area, or Ganges, or whomever. So that's how that's done. So it's interesting to know when those calls do occur, that we do have a plan in place to cover it. Personnel response, self-explanatory. We have some people in school on Wednesdays, and everyone's working a lot of hours nowadays. You're gonna find in the fire service what we're competing with is family time. That is the biggest issue. People don't want to be available. So, some of those calls, those large ones on there, like Johnny Miles, you know, John's always working on weekends at night. Just showing protected property values on saves, limiting damage, mitigating emergencies. Shows the area. Response times just under 6 for May, average year-to-date through 570. Special events, climbing, May 5 of them, and we're already planning into October. Huge demand for special events. And that's one thing that we're proud of, that this department, in my view, is very standout on public participation. You've got a lot of people, for example, Memorial Day, this department donated 60 hours for the parade, completely unpaid. And you think that's a typical day off, but we had a lot of people respond and want to participate in the parade for the right reasons. So there's a lot of public participation, education, public awareness, public outreach, all those fine moves that we have. So they're tracked. Fireboat incidents, interesting, one call that stands out is we had a medical emergency on the seawall, South Pier. Dispatched 2 crews. The mule could not get close because there's no beach. It was a Sunday, heard the call, responded with a couple other people. We had to take the fireboat to get 3 people off the seawall because you couldn't get to them. So the fireboat really came in handy, particularly when we had to backboard this person. We took the larger boat, which is 2191. It was invaluable what it did. And it was raining, so we were able to put the patient down below for comfort. But, great example. We also used it in a training session, which I'll talk about later on. So we're very thankful to the board for letting us update it.
Did we bring back everybody off the pier during that?
We brought back, everybody left on the pier. 2 people went by car, walked back to Oval Beach, but we brought back 3 family members, including the patient, and the crew. We can put about 25 people on that boat legally.
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous asset.
Got the main jackets on there?
Yes, we did. The one we couldn't put a jacket on was the patient that was backboarded and strapped. So it was kind of like we drop him in the water, we all go in.
Yeah.
It's a floating backward.
Did he have a broken leg?
Yeah, he was stepping in between the rocks to get a fish and fell over.
Be a long hobble.
So, real great, just wonderful patience, just, because it was miserable out there.
Well,
It just all worked out. I had a great crew. You can't always plan on docking that boat along the seawall at the breakwater.
It's rough, you can't.
You're gonna tear something up, somebody's gonna get hurt, but it was perfectly executed. I was there, I watched them. Very well done.
Who's running the boat?
Chris Bernhardt.
Yeah, it's interesting that there's not enough beach to even take a mule down the shoreline this year.
Yeah, I think John was on the crew on the mule, so whoever got there first was gonna get him. And I was at a graduation party for my granddaughter, and Bernhardt was with me, and we heard it, and he goes, "They're never gonna get to him." So we went down to the boat and met Vanos.
We went for a ride last night, that's South Haven, and there's no beach all the way down.
Really?
And it's,
Water's high.
yeah, and you got that high or 4 to 5 feet of dune grass where, you know,
It's just
how do
straight
you
drop
manage, you
off.
can't just drive over it with a mule, you'll roll.
Is there any access off the end of the oval parking lot back through the park that you can go through to the dunes?
You could, it just, yeah, you could, it just would take some time.
And you'd have to cross Norman Dean's property.
We had,
Yes.
it was
We would
surprising,
like it.
That would have to be.
surprising how quick the boat, we were able to get
Yeah.
down the boat, and that was all no wake zone, so we didn't throttle up. But as far as equipment, the ability to assess, treat, the boat provided that platform that ordinarily it would be
You
tough.
would have, yeah.
And you would have a bunch of people walking back, because you can only get so many people on the mule when it's in that configuration.
Okay. We done with this?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Community risk reduction,
Really excited about Douglas Elementary School. We completed the program, you can see the numbers there. We started off with 54%. By the end of the year, the program showed that it was 99% retention. We reached out to Morrow's for some help, and they insisted on paying for all the pizzas for 400 people,
Oh.
which is just unreal. For 3 years, we reached out to different businesses for the pizzas. And I talked to Frank Senior and had a number of, it was a lot of planning. A lot of planning for 400 people, just to get it through the school. And then the pizzas were made out of the school, so we had to go through some hurdles there. But Frank were just wonderful. Lynn Morrow, I can't tell you how nice it was. And make no mistake, they would not take it that way. We do have thank you cards that everyone signed for them. We're hoping you like the press release we did. One paper chose to put it in, and the other one did not. So we did reach out and create a press release. A lot of people helped with that. So lesson plans were included, great curriculum, and we're already planning, I reached out to the school today, we're already planning on next year's curriculum. I'll share that with you. May I go on?
sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, Eric, Chris, a little contribution from myself, created what each class went to. And it just shows where we're at, where we ended up by class. Pre-K is a very challenging class. But you know...
Long attention span.
Yeah, 90 seconds. But you know, what's interesting is the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, a lot of them had been up through the curriculum, and the pre-K through 2nd grade had a better memorization of the addresses. So Eric crafted these great little charts that show each classroom. The school, Mrs. Gush, should be proud of this, because really without them, we're useless. So,
Yeah, and it's so important for little kids to know their address now because of
Absolutely.
cell phones, so.
and this was identified to me in my previous life here as a deputy chief inspector, that this is a big problem. So, we identified it, it's community risk reduction, we did something about it.
And some poor kids probably have to learn to address.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you're right.
Or 3.
So, again, thanks for that, Eric. Great. Chris, thank you. And Chris and Madeline Gust, one of our interns, conducted a CPR course. Madeline was the lead instructor for community CPR, and that was last Thursday. So, we do those quarterly. Then finally, the state of Michigan, 61 fatal fires year to date, 7 since the last meeting.
It's a lot.
That is a lot.
Moving on to live fire training facilities update.
We collected, including ourselves, 3 $10,000 deposits for the live fire training center. They're not due until July 15th. Talked to Kim Busker today. He was waiting for everything to be flagged by Ms. Digg. It is, just to make sure there's no utilities out there. I'm going to meet with him Wednesday about elevations, and he's already cleared it of the brush. So that's what we're at on that. The steel, I don't know if you're aware of this, the steel went from 12,000, let's just say 13,000, to almost 18,000. Huge. And some of our personnel, Grasscup reached out to Padnos, and they're covering that increase. So we were very lucky there. The shipping containers are already in Hamilton. So when Shag Shop is available, those shipping containers will be trucked over to the Shag Shop for alteration. The steel, Mike Betts and I helped Shag Shop offload the steel. There's a lot of steel. We used a crane, but it took 4 people to do it.
Oh, sure.
So, that's where we're at on that. Continuing on, 2191, pretty much besides sonar, what we worked on were 2 major training events which took days to coordinate, and we're very thankful to Bruce and Marilyn Starring. It was their idea. We did a Homeland Security active violent training on a passenger craft at the request of the STAR. It's very advanced as far as thinking in that direction. We went through Homeland Security, and then we actually did a training evolution designed by Chris Mannels with SDPD Police, the STAR, and we had people in the water, and we had people that actively were acting as if they had injuries, stabbings, shootings. They had signs on them that described their injuries.
Have been shot.
Right. So the 2191, the larger boat, pulled up alongside. There was no anchoring involved, so there were lots of challenges. We used 2 other fireboats to transport people to Coughlin Park. Quite a significant training session when you consider it's never been done before.
It was windy that night too, wasn't it?
A bit. We pulled up, we were in the lee by King's House. So holding a position was great. We had some sailboater of all people behind us that we had to avoid. But really, train-wise, so far advanced that no one in Houghton County has done this. So.
And they killed Marilyn and brought her back to life.
I know.
Amazing.
So that was Wednesday night, and that was a long day and a lot of activity to get to that point. The next day, we took 2191 and we trained with Allen County Sheriff Office's dive team. I think we had 9 divers on board and 2 police boats, and the evolution was recovery of people down in the water. So they had a dummy, and they had to, we were support, and the divers had to go down and bring that person up. I left, I was brought back about 3:30, but there were 3 of us on the water on 2191. 2191 was a superb platform for recovery. We're not going to leave people out in the water, and it's a challenge to find these people. So.
That's actually brought back to life, huh?
Yeah.
That was the Wednesday night session on the Star of Saugatuck. And you can see, thank you for the
having a
show,
baby.
you can see what people had as far as injuries. David Blatt kind of orchestrated the evolutions, being a doctor. And then transferring those people from boat to another little boat to get to shore was interesting.
They carried one person down the stub.
I got pictures of it too.
No, the upper deck.
But the police actually went on and took out the perpetrators, and they were very much
Only
part
one
of
of
it.
us.
They were very much part of the evolution. There's our helmsman, Bernardi. We also did fireboat training that Chris, our Bruce Starling showed us about the suppression system activation. It's all manual on the Star Saugatuck, showed all the participants. We had a huge training response that night with people. Very out of the box training. That concludes my comments there, up to number 9.
Okay. Moving on to unfinished business, Fire Code Board of Appeals status update.
I'll give you an update. I heard from the attorney about 5:30 Thursday evening from Sauk City, asked for a red line version, and I sent him what I had sent the city managers, and then I saw there was an email today. He had composed something. They have a little different approval process. They need to have a red line and a clean version for council. What I was told, it was all a go. Township was a go, Douglas was a go. So I think it's just a matter of Sauk City approving that. I think,
We'll do it next Monday.
okay, next Monday. And I sent, Steve was asking about it, Steve Cushion, the zoning administrator from Township, and I think I sent him a reply Friday, kind of showing where we're at. We're waiting on Sauk City.
I don't think Douglas has officially approved it.
No,
Yeah.
but they were a go, you're right. They were a go, like Township was a go. And the way it was done last time is Sauk City paid for the amendment, they did it, and so we all had the same thing, and they shared that. The hiccup we had was Douglas with the elected versus non-elected. That's
So
what,
it will come back.
then it'll come back for you guys to go to your board to approve it, as well as Township. Does that explain it
Yep.
adequately? Okay.
Is that on your agenda for tonight?
No.
Okay.
Is everyone okay with that update so far?
Okay. Yeah, if you would make sure that happens there, that'd be nice. All right. Moving on to new business, now we have to approve the fire district budget of 2018-19. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion to approve the fire budget for 2018-19.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion by Phelps and support by Staring. Is there any discussion?
I guess the only thing I'd like to, more of a request, unfortunately, both Eric and I have been involved in this. There's a request from some of the board members on the township board to see a listing of annual salaries. And they were going to go through a FOIA process, and we said, well, let's just talk to people and see if that's something to be made available. In our budgeting process, we make that list, it's a part of the budget, and I don't know if we've ever considered that as a board, but you list, just the salaries, not everybody's pay, but just the salaries. And in our case, it's just all the elected officials are on there. So I guess initially what I'm
It'd be
asking
easy enough
for,
to put
Well, I
on.
guess it's back to, I don't think.
just a single page that says here are the salaries.
Well, we don't know, I guess, the thing is for 19, we don't know, Greg, I don't think Greg made a final decision what the pay raise is
And
going to be.
I told them that. I said, we haven't even adopted our budget yet, so you may have to wait, but we'll make the request.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm doing. is
whenever
making the
we get to
request.
that point, it'll be probably the second pay or one year, we didn't give nobody pay raises until October, so I guess it's up to the chief.
Depends
Yeah.
on a lot of things,
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, so,
I have one fire call, and all of a sudden, all the priorities change.
yeah, so whenever we
So,
have it, I mean, that's not a problem. We can
Well, you
forward
must
it.
have a number you've got to plug into your BSNA or whatever your software is. You have to have a number you plug in, don't you, for salaries?
Well, we just have a lump sum of whatever on the budget compared to last year, so Greg knows that there's X dollars amounts to divvy up between.
So how do you track your expenditures under the salary category? You must have some kind of accounting
No,
software.
like Greg's on salary.
Yeah, Greg's on salary, but I mean, we know what they are right now, but I mean,
Okay.
we don't know, I guess, well, we don't know what the pay raises are gonna be.
Right.
Or the starting,
Well, I think once we
It's
approve this
July.
budget, we know what they are because you've got it in the budget.
well, we have X dollar amount, so we don't know,
We haven't divided it up.
we hasn't been divvied up, I
Fair
don't
enough.
think, yeah, that's where we're at right now, just isn't been
So once
divvied.
that's been established, that's a request that the board has made.
Okay.
I'd like to see that we can honor that without them
Yeah.
having to go for any extra.
That's not a problem,
Right.
it'll be late July.
I think that's
the
fine.
Second or third payroll.
Personally, I
so.
think that's reasonable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say yes, or is this a
Roll
roll
call.
call? Go ahead.
Phelps,
Yes.
Staring,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Rory.
Yes.
And Verplank.
Yes. Moving on to the DNR grant applications for floating pumps.
We're working on 2 grants right now. And one of them is a DNR grant, which is due June 22nd. We have decided that we want floating pumps. That's what we would like. I'll spare you the details why. That's what we would like to go for. So DNR grants are a 50% match. So we're asking for a not to exceed roll call vote on that. And I can give you any questions. I just don't want to bore you with floating pump situations. Right now, I'll be honest, our middle fireboat has no pump. Both of them are shot.
Inflatable?
I got nothing. I have nothing to go upriver. And that really concerns me. So, anyway, floating pump primarily was Oxbow. Remember we had that big dunes fire out there? We have no way of getting water in there. It's landlocked, and we couldn't get the hydrant water close enough. So, we had all this volume of water we couldn't pull out of the lake. So that's one of the reasons we want floating pumps. And swimming pools, you know, those bodies of water on the lake where we could use them. So we're actually doing it with a regional approach with Hamilton, Clyde, and Ganges. So we're hoping the grant was looked at more favorably because DNR grants are very tough. We got one maybe 3 years ago. So, does that make sense?
When you say regional, what does that mean? Each get?
Right, in other words, we would each,
get that?
yeah, we would ask for, you know, a pump for each agency. Because like you have Hutchins Lake and Ganges with no water supply. And you do have areas where you have lakes where you can put a 400 gallon per minute pump in, enough for a nice 2.5 inch blitz, a lot of water for one person to get down. Effective, and it's a good compromising solution. So Hamilton would have one. Grasscook would have, or not Grasscook, Ganges, Fenville, that type. It's a regional approach.
So which of these capital funds do you account for that in your is it a long-term capital plan item you have that listed in there, or where would you have listed that as a future need? Because I know you have that list.
Right, yep, that was.
Does that come out of long-term
Chris,
capital, or-
You have a comment?
Yeah, I can answer, actually.
Yep.
We do have grant money allocated in the long-term capital for our matches.
Right.
In this case, we were not awarded the FEMA grant for radios this year. We were kicked out of the system by a computer due to call volume or something. So there was $9,000 allocated for that then we're gonna roll into this match
Right.
instead, so.
Good.
And that's a good question, Chris, because some agencies like, up north was a fire department that didn't get the match approved, and, you know, the council took exception to that.
Yeah, and the other thing is, it's one of those things that you really can't plan on, because it depends on a grant being accepted.
Right,
However,
right.
I think it should be in a list of needs, and you can weight that accordingly, but you need to have it somewhere, and I know you're doing that, and that's good.
That's it on that. So you need a
So-
roll call vote.
Motion first.
And then I'll make
And
a
you-
motion to apply for the DNR grant not to exceed 50%.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Phelps and a second by Rohrig to approve the grant application of 50% match not to exceed $5,000. Isn't that what you said?
Mm-hmm. I said 50%.
It is a roll call vote.
Sure. Phelps?
Yes.
Rory?
Yes.
Staring?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Verplank?
Yes. Okay, moving on to performance review.
I'd like to move that the board go into closed session for that.
Only Greg can decide that. Greg can request that.
I'll request closed session.
Can I request that it be postponed until we have a full board?
That would be desirable too.
We can do that.
I'll rescind my motion.
We can do that either way. We can do it in the closed session, or you can rescind your motion.
I'll rescind my motion and let Scott make a motion.
I'll just make a motion to postpone it until we have the full board.
Have a second. I'll support. Okay, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay. Well, I have your reviews, and I have them all categorized, and I'll give them to you next month, because I know you'll never come back with them. And I'm not gonna do it again. All right. Moving on to correspondence, we have a thank you from Mary Whiteford.
May 24th from Mary Whiteford, to me, Greg Janik. To Gregory, I would like to personally thank you for your hard work as fire chief of Saugus Township. Thank you for the positive impact you and your team have on our community. I'm proud to say the 80th district is home to such hard-working group. Keep up the great work. If you need assistance, let me know. Just kind of article she saw and saw some of the work we had done, and here's the letter.
Okay, moving on to public comment. Is there any public that would like to comment? Okay, fire board comments. Chris?
We had Tony Shipper come before the township board and express concern with the fines with the ambulance service to the township. So I sat down with him, and we sat down with AMR, and thanks to good work that he did with Eric, actually got some better data that showed there really isn't an issue with response as much as he had thought, which is good. I think it's good to look at it. But also probably showed us that maybe that's something that we'd like Tony and a committee, including Eric, if it's okay with the board, and maybe Aaron or somebody to help to kind of continue to look at that, and let's make sure that we are looking at that type of, and what I found is that the tight relationship between the fire district and the ambulance service is important. You gotta look at both together. And so just to let you know that that's something we would like to do as a township, is have a committee to kind of just look at that and maybe do some educating. I know Tony would like to take it to, more and more, what are those defibrillators? We'd like to see more and more of those.
Heart-saving community.
Yeah, exactly,
Yep.
exactly. So that's a good role for somebody like that in the township. So just kind of let you know that's what's going on.
Okay, Marilyn? Aaron?
Nothing for me?
Scott?
Jane?
I'll save mine for later. Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you.